Tretyakov Gallery. Kazimir Malevich, The Black Square in Suprematism Style. We are now in the Tretyakov Gallery on Krymsky Val. We are looking at the painting Black Square by Kazimir Malevich. He produced this painting in 1915. Let us touch upon the backstory of this piece. In 1913, Malevich made a number of sketches for costumes and decorations for a futurist opera, Victory Over the Sun. It was already then that geometric forms appeared in his drawings. Certainly, Malevich's artistic journey went through a number of milestones, and his path was not unlike that of the many artists of that era, the many masters of avant-garde, a sort of polystylism. He quickly mastered various artistic genres and swiftly turned from one to the next. Then, in 1915, an exhibition called 010 opened, where Malevich presented a number of suprematic works and exhibited his Black Square. One can imagine the artist's evolution. In about 2 years, he made a very long way to create a special system of painting, a special philosophy. It is Malevich's suprematist art that can be seen not only as a painting system, but also as an artist's philosophy that manifested in his creation of the Black Square form. Malevich had a special way of exhibiting his Black Square. He displayed it in the upper right corner, at the junction of the two walls in their upper zone. Apparently, the artist wanted to distinguish this work somehow. The idea of creating Black Square was a moment, a creative insight. Yet, the journey that Malevich had made was quite a long one. That is how he arrived at the idea of a rigid geometrical form, which we see in Black Square. The maximum compression of color and form. We see only a white background and a black square figure. In his creative development, Malevich went through the cubism stage. Note that the square was actually painted by the artist's hand. There is no mechanicality there, which would have been had Malevich used a ruler, for example. The form of the square is vivid, created by the hand of the artist. It's a moment of ingenious insight. Malevich had a fascinating theory for his idea of Black Square. Black Square brought up a wide variety of hypotheses and opinions of experts and maybe viewers too. Here is one. It is wonderful that there is such a painting that provokes so many ideas and interpretations. It is exciting. Yet, Malevich's thoughts are also important, and he wrote, for example, "I have destroyed the ring of the horizon and escaped the circle of objects." That means that you will not find a distinguished earth or sky here. There is no horizon line, and the viewers lose the sense of position of the earth and the sky. The whole action takes place in some symbolic, almost cosmic space. This is Malevich's contemplation of complex philosophical categories of the space and time. He arrived at the idea that Black Square reflected the concept of eternity and infinity. We will not see the horizon line, where this space ends. We will not see any borders. It can be perceived as a symbolic cosmos. Malevich believed that in the future, his suprematist art would become such a universal system that his model would be used to build transfer stations between the Earth and the Moon, that mankind would go into space, and suprematism would become an indispensable system for people of the future. It is as if Malevich opens up and reveals to us the possibilities of our cognition of this world and reflection on some space categories. We can perceive white as space, black as surface, yet there can be another interpretation. We can look at Black Square from a slightly different perspective. For example, black can be perceived as space and white as surface. That is, interpretations can be different. It seems that Black Square freezes and floats on this symbolic white background. And Malevich reflects on the eternal laws of the universe, the idea of static and dynamics. The idea of the statics is reflected in Black Square. It froze, it is still, and it seems to focus the viewer's perception. Black Square also probably reflected one of the main ideas of the avant-garde. This is the idea that matter can become light. It is as if Black Square is floating in this symbolic white background. Of course, like any artist, Malevich was looking for a kind of perfect form. As he said, "I seek the truth." He saw perfection in laconism, the laconism of form and color. Perhaps he was a man of slightly more rational thinking than, for example, Kandinsky. Maybe he had a more emotional understanding of the universe, and he was more rational in his search. Yet again, it's not by chance that Malevich chose this place to display his Black Square. He wrote, "The square is the icon of my time." That means that the square reflects the contemporary epoch, the present time, and on the other hand, becomes a unique, a style icon of the 20th century. Malevich was the first artist to find this perfect style, something that will later be in demand by many architects, designers, and artists of the 20th century. The aesthetics of straight lines, right angles, local surface, and local color. It is no coincidence that next to Black Square we see two models. The original 1927 model, created by Malevich, architecton. In the 1920s, Malevich came to an idea of creating an architectural form. Of course, he didn't really think it through in terms of engineering. It's an architectural idea in general, a perfect form, purely geometric, which was placed next to Black Square for a reason. Malevich's square is also a kind of philosophy, which we have already mentioned. A little later, he wrote an article entitled "Climatic Mirror," in which he contemplated the process of human cognition. For example, he wrote that if science cognized nature, it cognized zero. If art cognized beauty, it cognized zero too. Thus, for him, perfection, the truth, was concluded in zero. If zero means perfection for Malevich, then Black Square could be a perfect form to embody this moment. Something that was Malevich's philosophy and that found its perfect embodiment in the artistic form of Black Square. Let us not forget that Malevich painted not only Black Square, he also created Red Square and White Square. That means that his creative work does not end on this form of Black Square. It finds its further continuation. Malevich's creative periods are divided according to the creation of squares into black, color, and white. And of course, each of them deserves special attention. Still, right now, we're looking at the first version of Black Square, created in 1915. And it is almost impossible to imagine the culture and art of the 20th century without this work by Malevich. Perceptions may differ, and again, theories arise in many different ways. But it is quite curious to appeal to the thoughts of the artist, visualize his philosophy once again, and compare it with the artistic image we have just seen.